Newcastle United linked to a Dutch wonderkid? Let's talk about him. Welcome back to the video, guys. I hope everyone's well. And yes, Newcastle United have been linked to a Dutch wonderkid likened to Pedri and Kevin De Bruyne, Kees Smit. So I'm going to do my very best to tell you everything you need to know about him. We'll be looking at statistics. We'll be looking at his mental, physical, tactical, and technical side of the game. Now, Kees Smit is somebody that is on the radar of a lot of teams. It's not just Newcastle United. So there is competition for this guy. So I'm not sitting here saying it's definitely going to happen because it'll be difficult to sign a wonder kid like this. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich have all been linked to Kees Smit. So what makes him so special? Well, it could be the fact that he scored from the halfway line against Barcelona in the UEFA Youth League, which ultimately helped AZ Alkmaar win their first ever UEFA League title. Or could it be that he stole the show by winning MVP, the most valuable player, and finishing top scorer as Netherlands under-19s won the European Championship? Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, well, Mango, what qualifies you to talk about a player like this? Well, in fact, if you look over my X posts, I've actually been talking about this guy since 2023. So I've watched a lot of Kees Smit. So I'm going to tell you everything I know about him and what he would exactly bring to whoever he signs for, regardless if that's Newcastle United or not. But I do want to go on record and say I actually believe Newcastle United might be the best move for him right now. And I also want to go on record and say I hope Newcastle United do sign a talent like this, because this is exactly what you want to see at Newcastle United. Somebody that will bring that little bit of technical ability, that little bit of youthful exuberance to our lacking midfield right now. But look, you don't just need to hear it from me. Why don't we just look at what the Dutch national team manager and ex-footballer Ronald Koeman has to say about Kees Smit? Ronald Koeman acknowledged Smith's technical and intelligence in possession, noting similarities to players who operate between the lines. He went on to say he has the awareness to receive in tight spaces and move the ball forwards. That is something we value. Can I just stop it there for a second, please? Because what do I always say I want my midfielders? Somebody that is technically and composed enough to play in tight spaces, but most importantly, a player that wants to play forwards, because that is how you punish and hurt the opposition. So thank you, Ronald Koeman, because I always say this. I want this in my midfielders. We're going to be looking at video clips of exactly what he does and how comfortable Kees Smit is in possession. Ronald Koeman also likened Kees Smit to Pedri, and when he was questioned about it, he explained the reasoning behind his decision. He went on to say the resemblance people see is how he positions himself and his decision-making under pressure, but every player must form their own identity. He also went on to say big clubs follow players with these characteristics. This is normal. What is important is that he continues developing where he is, playing regularly. Now, I know for a fact what all you Newcastle United fans will be saying right now. There's no chance in Newcastle United signing this player. But if I'm advising him and I'm his agent, I'm probably going to say, you're 19 years old, go to a club where you're going to play the most. Now, Newcastle United, this is where they need to sell their project, because the bright lights of Real Madrid and Barcelona, that is beautiful for any young footballer. So I wouldn't take away his decision if he was to move to one of those clubs. Kees Smit is a wonderful talent, and he's had an excellent breakout season at AZ Alkmaar. As you can see from the statistics, he's been probably the best under-21 midfielder in that league. He ranks first against under-21 players in their Eredivisie for passes completed, forward passes, progressive passes, duels won, and successful dribbles. So that there just highlights what a complete midfielder that you're getting in Kees Smit. But where did it all begin? He began his career at local club De Foresters in the Netherlands, and his coach at the time actually said he is a very quiet kid, but he lets his feet do the talking. He was only 7 years old when he joined, but he already had so much control over the ball. 3 years later, he joined AZ, which is where he remains at the moment. So he went on to say he has very strong legs. He dares to ask for the ball every time and generally does good things. Sometimes you can't quite explain it, but you can tell it's not a coincidence. There's a thought behind every single move. Not everything comes off, far from it. But when you see him, this is just different. And this is a quote I love because it's something I always see. Not everything comes off all the time in football. As long as the intention's there, that's a beautiful thing. Do you know what's even more beautiful in football? Somebody that never goes hiding. Somebody that always wants the ball, wants to be in possession, and that's why Kees Smit ranks first for touches per 90. He is fearless. He'll receive the ball in any area, just like he did against Crystal Palace in the Conference League. As you can see from the clips on the screen, he receives the ball in the middle of 3 players. Now, he receives the ball deep in his own defensive third, but he's got the composure, the strength to shield the ball, even when he's being tightly marked. Then he's got the artistry to drop his shoulder, move away from any challenge, open up his body, and progresses the ball forward. Just something so simplistic makes a big difference on a football pitch. These are the sorts of actions that are catching the eyes of all the big clubs around the world. Now, these are his statistics from the youth days. Now, I'm not going to go through them all, but you can read them if you want. He's made 50 senior appearances for AZ, scoring 4 goals, providing 6 assists. Let's talk about some of his standout traits before we break it down individually. So he's 19, he stands at 6 foot, he's versatile, primarily a number 8 or a number 10, but he's comfortable in a deep line playmaker role or as an advanced midfielder. He's a technically gifted central midfielder with a style that blends Dutch positional discipline with creative flair. He has some of his best traits: ball progression. He always looks to play forwards and hurt the opposition. He's excellent at receiving under pressure, turning away from tight spaces, and often initiates attacks with vertical passes. That also highlights his exceptional spatial awareness, finds pockets of space between the lines, adjusting his position to support build-up in play. He's also got that technical flair and capable of long-range goals. And additionally, one of my second favourite things about him is he always plays with an open body shape. And what I mean about an open body shape is receiving on your back foot, allowing your touch to go into the direction that you want to play on your second touch. It's a beautiful thing for a 19 years old, and Kees Smit does this brilliantly. This is how he opens up games, because his first touch gives him clarity on his next move. What position does he play exactly? Well, he's quite versatile. He can play in different systems because of his well-rounded profile. But when he's in a 4-3-3, he excels as a left-sided interior, progressing play, playing between the lines and feeding wingers. But as you can see on the screen, he's also capable of playing in a double pivot. When he's in that double pivot, that allows him to get on the ball, dictate play, be progressive in transitions, and thread passes into the final third. Let's begin by talking about his mentality. And what I love about him is his maturity. What seems to elevate Smit is his maturity. His game management is really impressive for a 19 years old. Always seems to be one step ahead of his opponent, even teammates at times. And he's the type of technical midfielder that's comfortable playing off 1 or 2 touches. This is really valuable in a 19 years old because it quickens up play and allows you to punish your opposition in transitions. Where did Newcastle United do their best work? In transition moments. But he's got such maturity in his game. He understands when to recycle possession, understands when to quicken it up, and understands when to feed these wingers or these strikers that are on the move, which just highlights his football IQ. Now, I'll say it again, not every action comes off, but it's the signs that are visible. He's a dynamic 2-footed central midfielder that is comfortable playing off either foot. He can thread passes, switch the play, dribble, move in and out of tight spaces, maneuver around challenges, drive forward with the ball. And he's got that ability to not be intimidated by any competition. Doesn't matter who he's coming up against. He never seems flustered. Now, I always say in my midfielders, you always want to be an option in possession. Now, he's very good at finding space and pockets of space. Even if you look at his heat map, he likes to roam around that final third, even though he's a little bit slightly more heavily on the left-hand side. But he's very comfortable in all areas of that final third. What do I always say in football? You need players that are comfortable receiving under pressure. That is exactly what Kees Smit is. And he's one of those players that's absolutely everywhere. He's a very good athlete, got good stamina, good endurance, and he's all over the pitch, regardless if it's receiving off his goalkeeper, receiving off his centre-backs, or being threatening in the final third. He's somebody that will be a box-to-box dynamic midfielder. And sometimes you don't have to be the loudest on the football pitch. You can lead by example by being brave enough to receive under pressure, being brave enough to take risks at the right time. That is the type of player Kees Smit you're getting. Now it's the exciting part. Let's talk about the technical side of the game, because this is where Kees Smit really stands out. He's got the intelligence to find space between the lines and receive on the half turn. He's got a beautiful, smooth half turn touch. but it's his technical ability that stands out the most because he's super comfortable driving through lines, super comfortable creating in the final third, super comfortable receiving off the back four. So it's his technical ability that stands out the most. The first thing you notice is how press resistant he is. He's a kind of press resistance that you would expect from a modern day central midfielder. His first touch is clean, his ball control is excellent, and that allows him to receive on the half turn and roll out of tight spaces. He also has the pace and strength to thrive in one-on-one situations, as well as the awareness and composure to operate in small pockets of space. Now, Kees Smit is averaging 1.2 successful take-ons per 90. Now, if you look at him in motion, regardless if it's in tight spaces or in open spaces, he's extremely decisive. Even if we break it down, have a look at some of his in-possession stats. He's averaging 61.3 touches per 90, which just highlights his involvement in the game. He's sitting in the top 10 percentile for total carry distances, progressive carry distances, progressive carries, carries into the final third, and carries into the penalty area, while he's also attempting 2.59 take-ons per 90 with a success rate of 1.14, which is incredibly impressive for a 19-year-old. Now, granted, the Eredivisie to the Premier League, there is a disparity in league, but these numbers are very satisfying. Even if we're moving on to his passing side of the game, he's got the ability to switch play, unlock defenses from all areas and angles on the pitch. He consistently looks to move the ball forward. He's technically gifted. His short passing is crisp and accurate, and he's very comfortable playing 1-2s in the build-up. What I love about him is how effective he can be in all thirds of the pitch. From deeper zones, he's got the vision to punch passes into advanced players. In the middle zone, he's excellent at linking up midfield to attack. And in that final zone, he's got the creativity and vision to break down compact defenses. Now, when I talk about he's got the creativity, this is exactly what the type of profile Newcastle United need in their squad. Kees Smit ranks 5th against all 21 midfielders in Europe's top 7 leagues for chance creation with 2.23 per 90. And you can see just how excellent he is in that final third. He's averaging 4.12 shot creating actions per 90, and he does it in many different ways. As you can see, he's sitting in the top 1 percentile for shot creating actions after a successful take-on, but he's also sitting in the top 3 percentile for shot creating actions after a live pass. So he's got that ability where he can maneuver around short combined areas. He's got the agility to weave his way in and out of challenges and then find a pass afterwards, but he's also got that ability to visually break down low blocks. So not only is he very good at in the build-up stage, he's also very good in that final third, and this is why it's making him a very well-rounded complete midfielder. And even if we break it down to his passing statistics, as you can see, they're very pleasing on the eye. He ranks really highly for key passes. He sits in the top 7 percentile. He ranks really highly for passes into the penalty area. He sits in the 6th percentile, and he's also in the top 8 percentile for expected assists. So when it comes to progressing play, driving between the lines and creating for his teammates, Kees Smit is absolutely excellent. And if you compare him against players in the Eredivisie, he ranks highly for almost all actions. He ranks 9th for passes into the final third with 25 so far this season. So that highlights his ability to receive in the middle area and progress his team into the final third. He ranks 14th for passes into the penalty area with 18 so far this season. He ranks 16th in the league for progressive passes with 61 so far this season. He ranks 9th in the league for key passes with 22 so far this season, and he ranks 12th for expected assists with 2.6 per 90 so far this season. Now, what I love about him is this action we're seeing against Crystal Palace. As you can see, as the ball is arriving to him, he's already scanning for the space. He's already scanning to see where he can play his next move. He receives with his body shape open and a smooth first touch just to gently move the ball into his stride. And then he's got the capabilities of finding a pass and breaking the lines. In the same game, does he have the vision to find a pass? And as you can see, he receives the ball near the halfway line. He opens up his body and sends a delicious ball over the top of the fullback for his winger to advance onto. And even if you look at his metrics here, the bottom 2 diagrams are against midfielders in Europe's top 7 leagues. If we're focused on the first diagram, pass completion and key passes, as you can see, he ranks above average for both of them combined. Even if we're moving on to progressive passes and progressive carries per 90, as you can see, he ranks above average for both of them combined. Before we get on to his weaknesses, let's look at the chart graph of his well-rounded ability and attributes. because as you can see, ranks really highly for shot creating actions, non-penalty goals, expected assists, passes attempted, passes completed, progressive passes, progressive carries, successful take-ons, and touches per 90. Kees Smit is one of the most well-rounded technical midfielders that you will come across at 19 years old. But that doesn't mean he's the finished article or he doesn't come without his weaknesses. Now, before we get on to his weaknesses, I want to touch on his defensive attributes first of all, because the characteristics are all right. He presses hard, he works hard, he tracks back, he's willing to engage. He's willing to win the ball back, but there is some flaws in his game. And first of all, on the defensive side of the game, he's dual timing and angles. Kees Smit does very well at anticipating play, but sometimes he can often foul because he's created the wrong angle, or he cannot just match his timing with his anticipation. I would be comfortable saying he contributes more in offensive transitions than he does defensive transitions. That's not because he's lazy, because he's definitely not. It just means he needs more coaching on the defensive side of the game to get his angles more correct. That ties us in nicely to physicality. He's still developing his upper body strength and his stamina speed over longer distances. So sometimes against high intensity pressing sides, he can be muscled off the ball. Aerial duels, he lacks the timing, the height, and the willingness to be assertive in the air. He's far better when the ball's on the ground, let's say, and that's proven in his statistics. And then in possession, at times he can over dribble, looks to beat that extra man sometimes and overcompensate when he's penetrating. And then what's quite common in young footballers is consistency with his end product. Now, you've seen his chance creation, his ability to score goals, his ability to receive under pressure, always scanning his shoulders, looking for where the space is, his teammates are, and where the pressure will come from. That scanning allows him to beat the press so comfortably. And this is why he's compared to Pedri. If you watch Pedri, he's consistently scanning. It's the beautiful side of football that you don't see much. So that's a wrap for today, guys. There is everything you need to know about Kees Smit. Let me know in the comments if this is somebody that you would welcome to Newcastle United, and also if Newcastle United actually have a chance of signing them. But before you leave, don't forget to drop your comments in the below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and until next time, away the lads.